I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I said you was a charming motherfucker. Well, you the only one talking, nigga. What?
Deep in the frozen wastelands of Russia lies Black Hills, a prison so brutal it makes hell look merciful. Inside those concrete walls, survival isn't just about staying alive, it's about fighting like an animal. Because every week the prisoners are thrown into underground death matches. No rules, no mercy. The man running this blood circus? Gaga, a crime boss with more money than morals. He doesn't just bet on fights, he owns them. And his golden fighter, Vladimir Zykov, is an unstoppable beast. A monster forged by violence. During one of his fights, Zykov dismantles his opponent like he's made of paper. Gaga watches, smirking, bragging about his fighter's inhuman strength. But when his assistant drops a stack of cash, something unexpected happens. An old crippled cleaner limps over to pick it up. That old man? Yuri Boyka, once the most feared fighter on the planet, now reduced to mopping floors in a place that's already forgotten him. 15 years behind bars, a broken knee, a denied request for freedom, but behind those tired eyes burns the same fire that once made him a legend. Every night in his cold cell, Boyka trains. No equipment, no mercy, just raw pain and determination. His mop becomes a barbell. His will becomes his weapon. One day, Gaga pays him a visit. He offers Boyka comfort, a better cell, privileges, maybe even a library job. But Boyka wants none of it. He asks for only one thing, to fight again? Gaga laughs it off. The old king is long dead, he says. Zykov would destroy him in seconds. But Boyka doesn't respond. He just watches, waits, trains. Soon another fight lights up the prison. Zykov dominates again, and from the shadows, Boyka studies every move, every weakness. Days later, he makes his decision. He shaves his head clean, shedding the past, preparing for rebirth. The next tournament isn't just another prison brawl, and this time, the prize is freedom. One winner will walk out of Black Hills a free man. Boyka steps into the ring uninvited, drenches Zykov with a bucket of water, and makes his challenge loud and clear. The guards rush in, but Gaga, amused and confident the old legend won't survive, lets it happen. Seconds later, the impossible unfolds. Boyka explodes like a storm, tearing through Zykov with ruthless precision. The once invincible champion crashes outside the ring, out cold. The crowd of inmates goes insane, chanting Boyka's name like a god reborn. But victory inside Black Hills is just the beginning. Soon, Boyka is transported to Gorgon, a maximum security prison in Georgia, the next stage of the deadly tournament. While Gaga and other criminal elites gather in luxury to watch the blood games unfold, Gorgon's new warden introduces the fighters to their new reality. Hard labor by day, brutal combat by night. Among the arrivals is Turbo, a cocky American with a mouth as fast as his punches, and Raul, a Colombian fighter with special protection from his boss. While the others bleed in the quarry, Raul relaxes on a chair, juiced up on performance enhancers and arrogance. Turbo keeps mouthing off, picking fights, and even challenges Boyka. But Boyka doesn't flinch. He's not here to argue. He's here for redemption. Each swing of the hammer, each drop of sweat rebuilds the man he used to be. Because Boyka isn't just fighting for victory, he's fighting for his soul. The blood-soaked tournament inside Gorgon prison finally begins. And only the strongest will walk out alive. In the first elimination fight, a Brazilian powerhouse turns his opponent into a punching bag, smashing a Greek fighter until he's barely breathing. The crowd roars for blood. Next up, Turbo, the loud-mouthed American, steps into the ring. And in under a minute, he dismantles the Croatian fighter like it's personal. His confidence shoots through the roof. Then comes the match everyone's been waiting for. Boyka's return. Gaga watches from the sidelines, shaking his head, betting on the old man's defeat. At first, the fight looks even. The French contender moves fast, landing clean hits, but Boyka absorbs them like stone. Every strike he takes, he gives back twice as hard. Soon the mat turns red and the Frenchman starts to crumble under Boyka's relentless rhythm. Then, with one final brutal shot to the chest, Boyka ends it. Victory is his, but as he walks away, his limp betrays the pain hiding behind his calm stare. That old knee isn't healing, it's screaming. Then the final fight of the round begins. Raul Dolor, the Colombian champion. Dolor means pain, and he lives up to the name. He toys with his North Korean opponent, punishing him again and again until the man collapses lifeless on the floor. The crowd loves it. Rizzo, the Georgian crime lord running this entire circus, smiles quietly from his seat. But for the losers, there is no second chance. When Warden Cuss visits the infirmary, he doesn't offer sympathy. He simply says, "Your games are over." Moments later, the defeated fighters are secretly executed and buried in silence. The tournament continues, and so does the suffering. Back at the quarry, Turbo can't resist mocking Boyka's limp. He taunts him non-stop, even taking cheap swings at his injured knee. Boyka ignores him until he can't anymore. With one crushing punch, Boyka silences the American. Turbo grins, thrilled. Finally, a challenge worth his time. The two brawl until the guards drag them away and throw them into the pit. A freezing, stinking hole where men barely survive the night. Even there, Turbo won't shut up. He keeps jabbing at Boyka through the bars, trying to provoke him. But the Russian stays calm, breathing slow, saving his rage for the right moment. The next morning, the prison bosses arrive. Furious. They discover the fighters are being worked like slaves in the quarry, something that wasn't part of the deal. Gaga and Fernand storm into the warden's office, demanding answers. But Warden Cuss just smirks and nods toward the man standing behind them. Mr. Rizzo. Rizzo calmly lays it out. The tournament is rigged. All the other fighters, just pawns. They're being drained to exhaustion so that his champion, Raul, wins easily. He pours them drinks, smiles coldly, and says, "Stop fighting the system. Bet on my man. You'll thank me later." Back in the quarry, Boyka and Turbo are chained together, forced to break rocks under the burning sun. Turbo, still hot-headed, keeps provoking him, but something changes. Instead of fighting, Boyka keeps working. Eventually, Turbo slows down, then matches Boyka's rhythm. The hate turns to respect. One swing, then another. For the first time, the two move as one. That night, while others sleep, they train together. Push-ups, squats, rock lifts. Boyka's knee screams in agony, but he doesn't stop. Turbo, now more brother than rival, helps him through the pain. He even offers him mountain flowers, saying their oil can numb the ache. Boyka hesitates, then nods. Meanwhile, outside the walls, Gaga and Fernand bet everything they've got on Raul, believing the fix is real. But inside Gorgon, something Rizzo didn't plan is happening. Boyka and Turbo are growing stronger, unbroken. When the warden notices, he tries to crush their spirit, ordering both men to work without food. But instead of breaking them, it only fuels their fire. Under the scorching sun, the two warriors train harder than ever. Their bodies bruised, their faces hard, their will unshakable. The guards stare in disbelief. The prisoners start to whisper one word again. Boyka. Then comes the semi-final. Boyka faces the monstrous Brazilian, a man who crushed skulls like coconuts. From the first bell, it's a war. Every step Boyka takes sends pain shooting through his knee, but he fights like a cornered lion. Blow after blow, he endures the agony until he traps his opponent in a bone-breaking hold. The Brazilian taps out, the crowd explodes, and Boyka, bleeding and limping, stands tall once more. He's going to the finals, even if it kills him. For the first time, Mr. Rizzo feels fear. The plan was perfect. The fights were rigged, the bets locked in. But now, something's wrong. Boyka and Turbo are both getting stronger, strong enough to ruin everything. So Rizzo gives the order. Neutralize the American. That night, the guards carry it out with savage precision. They beat Turbo nearly to death, leaving him bloodied and broken on the cold floor. When Boyka finds his friend barely conscious, Turbo looks up through the pain and whispers, "Doc, if I can't make it, you take care of business, you and me. We got a date in the ring." Boyka says nothing, but his silence speaks louder than words. He trains harder, pushes deeper into the pain. His fists bleed, his knee throbs, but he doesn't stop. Then, from the shadows, Raul Doler appears. The Colombian smiles, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I know who you are, Boyka. The fallen king of the ring. The man who lost everything, and soon. Your American friend will lose his life too." Boyka doesn't react, but inside a storm begins to build. Later, he goes to check on Turbo, but his cell is empty. Panic hits for a moment, until he spots him in the gym, still hitting the heavy bag, barely standing, refusing to quit. Both men are punished for defying orders and sent back to the quarry, chained, exhausted, barely human. Boyka watches Turbo struggle and finally realizes, if his friend steps into that ring again, he'll die. So he does the unthinkable. He tells Turbo to run. When the time comes, Boyka says, "Don't fight. Escape. Leave." Turbo shakes his head. "I don't run, man. I fight." But then the old water carrier, the one no one ever notices, whispers the truth. The losers aren't sent back to prison. They're executed. The words hit like a bullet. Turbo finally nods. The plan is set. When a guard turns away, they strike, swinging the sledgehammer to break their chains. But the hammer snaps before the metal does. The alarm screams through the quarry. Guards rush in, batons flying. Boyka becomes a whirlwind of fury, taking down guards left and right, unlocking Turbo's chains in the chaos. "Go!" he shouts. "Run!" Turbo fights his way up the hill, blood dripping from his face, and disappears into the forest beyond the walls. Boyka doesn't make it. A rifle butt smashes into his skull, and darkness swallows him whole. He wakes up later in his cell, dizzy, bleeding, and surrounded by devils. Warden Cuss, Mr. Rizzo, and then Gaga. Boyka demands answers, but Gaga just smiles coldly. "I've already placed my new bet," he says, "on Raul." "You can't beat the Colombian." Boyka glares at him. No words, just pure fire. And then comes the final fight. The day that decides everything. The crowd roars as Raul Doler steps into the ring, his muscles gleaming under the lights. Across from him, Yuri Boyka, the broken legend, stands tall, calm, silent, ready. The bell rings, and all hell breaks loose. Every punch is answered, every kick returned. Neither man gives an inch. Sweat and blood fill the air like rain. Then, Raul lands a brutal shot to Boyka's jaw. His mouthguard flies out, blood spraying as the Russian stumbles. In the blur, he sees Rizzo smiling at the puppet master, certain of his victory. But then something inside Boyka snaps. Rage floods through him. He charges like a machine, hammering Raul with everything he has. The Colombian catches his injured leg, twisting it until a scream rips through the air. In the stands, Gaga and the others cheer. Their money's safe. But somehow, Boyka doesn't break. He fights his way out of the hold, gasping, crawling, refusing to die. Raul crushes him again, sending his body tumbling out of the ring. The referee begins to count. 1, 2, 3. Boyka lies motionless on the floor. Then, through the haze, he spots a mop lying nearby, the same one he once used as a weapon during his training days. Memories flood back, the pain, the humiliation, and Turbo's voice echoing in his head. Improvise. Adapt, overcome. At the count of 8, Boyka rises, limping, bleeding, unstoppable. He rips a strip of cloth, ties his knee tight, and steps back into the ring. The crowd goes wild. Raul charges, roaring, "Wasatawan!" But Boyka moves like lightning. One hit, then another. A devastating combo that drops the Colombian flat. The arena falls silent, then explodes into chaos. Boyka pounds Raul again and again until the so-called pain can't even stand. And when Raul's leg finally gives out, the world sees the truth. Boyka isn't just a fighter, he's a survivor. The referee raises his hand. The prison erupts in cheers. Yuri Boyka has reclaimed his crown, the undisputed king of prison fights. And that's how this brutal story ends, with a broken man who refused to stay down